It's an unprecedented opportunity to be talking to you, Teresa, today. Could you please introduce yourself and what do you do for business?
Yeah, well, my name is Teresa Lavina. I'm a filmmaker full time. I make mainly documentaries, but I also make some fiction. And I also engage with children. I kind of developed a program where we teach English through filmmaking.
Mhm.
So this year we don't have it on because of the COVID. People can't fly over to Ireland, you know. But yeah, we have it during the year, during the winter. It's a nice program for children and teenagers.
Yeah, very interesting. And have you won like prizes or awards for your work?
Yeah, my last documentary is a short documentary called Bad Fruit. Bad Fruit has picked a few awards, including I won an award in LA as Independent Short Awards. I won Best Director and Best Documentary. And then I won the Underground Cinema Awards, which is a really good award here in Ireland, you know, with the same documentary. So very happy because it's a very relevant piece, and I'm delighted for the contributors that, you know,
Mhm.
that gotten some exposure, you know. So it is good, yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting. You spoke about Ireland, like you're not originally from Ireland. Like, how do you describe this journey?
It's a journey. I came over for a holiday, actually, 23 years ago or something like that, in 1997. And then I met a few friends, I met my husband, and I decided to prolong my holiday, which is now, yeah, 20 odd years. So yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's hard, but most of the time it's cool. It's a country that has allowed me to follow my career, and I'm very happy.
Very good. Okay, let's start with your, what is your training style?
Yeah, well, I started training in Spain when I was a teenager. I started training as a Stanislavski, and then I kind of move on to the method, which was very fashionable at the time. It was Lee Strasberg, and everyone was on about it. But I found it personally quite psychologically damaging, say, to be working like that as an actor. So I started training the Meissner technique, which is a technique that works under imaginary circumstances rather than kind of getting emotional notes through your own life experience, you know.
Mhm.
So Meissner technique to me is a healthier approach for actors, you know, if it's taught by the right people. Because I mean, some people kind of copy or imitate Meissner to a point that is not healthy, because Meissner wasn't a nice person, you know, and he wasn't nice to his actors. So to try and replicate what he did is not good. But so I trained for years, and then I came across this guy, Scott Williams. He's brilliant. He is based in London. But there's only two people that are left in the world that are direct students from Meissner himself, and he is one of them. So I was very, very privileged to to work with Scott, and then also Scott works for us now, just doing some workshops for Nova in Dublin, which is a brilliant thing to have, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, very interesting. Like, could you mention some of the challenges you faced through your journey?
Yeah, well, one of them was acting. Acting in a country that is not your country is a big challenge. You don't get auditions. You go to audition, and nowadays you may get something. I'll talk to you more about it later on. But back in the time, it was impossible. Like, you know. So at the time, we had a small theater production company, and I decided to start writing and directing and then producing. So I started like my journey into directing and producing at a very young age. You know, even before I finished college, we had this company set up. And it was a very good time in Dublin because it was the beginning of the Fringe Festival, which is really, really big now. But back in the time, It was big, but it was new and it was more approachable. So every year we had a play there. So I used to produce the plays, and then like another two friends, one of them was the writer, another one the director, you know, and between the three of us, we kind of kicked the company, and it went very well, you know. So that was the beginning of all, like.
Yeah, very, very interesting. What is the play Every Woman's Thoughts about? Why did you write it?
Oh, yeah, I wrote that play when I was only 22. That was the first play that I wrote in English, and it was picked up, and I had it on in the Irish Writers Center, and it was very funny because it was a woman in the 90s with all the women's hang-ups from the 90s, but it was like a real kind of, I guess looking back now, kind of a feminist piece. But at the time, when I directed that play, it was a man that actually played the woman. So it made it a bit complicated because it was all about kind of giving out about men in a way, but in a funny way. It wasn't, it was more like how this young woman wanted to be understood by her husband, say, you know. So that's the play about. And it is good. It touches a few notes that are very interesting now looking back in the hindsight, like, you know. So it was good, and I was very, very honored to have it on in that particular venue, you know. It was very, very good at the time, and for me, being a Spaniard, I was the first Spanish person having a play in the Irish Writers Center, so I was flattered. It was so nice, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very nice. Like you said that the play mentions or goes around some specific points that are,
Yeah.
could you explain a little more about these points?
Yeah, it was a lot about how women had to diet to be seen in a perfect way. Like, how do men complain about women spending a lot of time, say, in dressing rooms, you know, how challenging it was to go to a restaurant and not being able to eat what you really wanted because, you know, you had to look perfect. And it was all that it was actually important at the time, like, you know. And, you know, also like how difficult it was for a woman to be a woman, at the same time be the perfect wife, at the same time having your freedom, being understood, you know. It was relevant at the time, you know.
Yeah. How do you choose works to produce or to direct?
uh, Directing over producing, definitely, but I have no choice but producing also, you know, because a lot of the stuff that you make is your own projects, and you don't get funded all the time, like, you know. So I have to produce, you know. And I think I'm a good producer because I'm very organized as a person, you know. I kind of meet my deadlines. I know how to realize a movie. I know with whatever money I have, I know how to make it work really well, you know. So I am a good producer that way. But as a director, maybe in the last couple of years, because I have such a good experience with actors, and so much experience, so many years working with actors, training myself, I think it makes me a good director in the way that I can communicate with actors. And I give them the freedom and the space to be vulnerable in front of me without being attacked. And I think that is really, really important from a director. I can see in the last few years that there's a cross role between being a DOP and being a director. And being a director is a complete different thing than being a DOP. A DOP should worry about the shots and the look of the movie in the frame. And a director should work the shot list with the DOP previous to the shot, so the director can work with the actors when you come to set. But there's a crisscross of, you know, between DOP director that I don't understand, which is very bad, because what happens is, if you're a DOP and you are on camera and you're trying to direct someone, you can't be in two places at the same time, first of all. But mostly, if you don't have the understanding in how to help your actors to reach the emotional notes that you need them to reach, you will never get the performance that you need from them. So that will definitely jeopardize your production. And that's when you see, oh, that acting is not great. No, that directing isn't great. Because if you see an actor that is not acting properly, that's the director's problem. The director wasn't able to bring the actor where the actor should be to get a good performance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I am also, as as a director, as you grow older and you go a little bit wiser and you have a bit more experience and you experience more things yourself in life, you know, it gives you more understanding, and maybe you can dive a little bit deeper into other things, you know, like kind of your visual idea of a movie changes, you know, you really want to voice something, which ultimately that's what cinema is about. It's about social changes. It's about showing people what the world is like, or how the world is going to be if we don't do certain things. But again, that has been changed in the last few years. A lot of it is just a display of special effects or very cool editing, or I have this dolly, I have like loads of stuff, but you're missing what really cinema is about, what really making film is about, which is about voicing something that is needed to be voiced, you know. So yeah, I think that is very important, because if you lose track on that, cinema becomes just empty, and that's not nice. Like, you know, that's not nice.
Okay, let me
Sorry,
link.
we can go too profound here. Like, you know.
Yeah, let me try to link the dots here. Like, you didn't care as much, or like do a lot of effort as much in directing, but you preferred producing.
No,
But
I
you.
prefer directing over producing.
Mm-hmm. But
I
you. Yeah, go ahead, Teresa. Yeah.
yeah, I prefer directing over producing. So I
Ah,
prefer directing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, great,
yeah,
great. So, like, let me say this. Like, as a directing or as a director or as a filmmaker, do you send implicit messages in your work?
I do, but I do and I don't, and I tell you why. Because I'm very careful to step aside, because I don't want to be a propagandistic filmmaker. I like to show the truth, and especially in documentary, that is very difficult, because you have to press the mute button on yourself to allow your contributors to speak, you know, and it's a challenge in itself when you because if you're a director, naturally you want to express your vision. But when it comes to documentary, sometimes you need other people to express what they feel. So you have to step aside, you know. And I am careful with that, because I am a social documentarian, and the subjects that I touch are very, very, very fragile, you know. So I like to voice this. Like, I'm the last documentary, that documentary that won awards was about the Chuan babies, is called, and it's about a mother and baby home in Ireland, where a couple of years ago they opened a septic tank and they found the bodies of 796 babies in there. Yeah. So a lot of things came up to light, and then I met up with people that survived those mother and baby homes, and these guys need to be heard, you know, because the government and the Catholic Church have to apologize about what they've done. So you have to be careful, you know. And it is like, yeah, so I'm going a little bit further now in my next production with this similar thing, you know, and I'm making a feature film about how basically institutions and the Catholic Church have hurt a lot of people in the last 60 years.
Yeah, that's so daring and so courageous. That's
Yeah,
unusual.
I like this type of documentary.
Mm.
You know, I also make like silly stuff. I'm making a little web series now called Haunted Islands, which is about ghosts and the dark history of Ireland. It's a very small kind of a series with 5-minute episodes that are kind of historic, but they have like the dark side of it, you know, the dark history of Ireland, which is very interesting. I like it, you know, I'm enjoying it. But this is more like a pastime. We're not being funded, so we have GoFunding campaign. Like, you know, some people are donating, some people aren't. Well, I just keep going because I like it. So I make an episode a week, have a bit of fun, interview a few people, you know, go to haunted places or castles, and it's fun. It's been fun, you know.
So let
But
me ask you this. Like, do people receive the different types of films in the same way? Like, for example, entertainment, we know that it's popular, all people watch, people like you will become famous and get a lot of money. But with documentaries, people will will have to face the truth, and maybe they will get intimidated and they will not like the film, maybe. And then
Yeah,
you will know.
that's yeah, that's why I'm not rich. I didn't make a lot of money because I like this type of filmmaking. I like that. I don't want to be recognized by people. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be famous. If I want to be famous, I can run naked on the street and I'll be famous the next day. But being famous is not my objective. But what I would like is my work to be just to be seen, so I can really say what I want. Because I like our company like specifically works with ethnic minorities and small kind of social groups, that I think in Ireland at the moment, there's a thing, I wrote about it, it's like on-screen cleansing, you know, it's like when you talk about racism and all these things, you see a lot of racism on a screen, but it's very subtle because you don't see people attacking other ethnic minorities. What you see is like there's no ethnic minorities on a screen. So it's all Irish, you know what I mean? And sometimes now you get the odd Polish person, never as a main role. No one has a main role that English is not their first language, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
maybe you get like sometimes it has happened with a couple of movies only that maybe you get some American person or English person playing a main role, but you would never see Spanish person, an Arab person, no one, like, so racism is not about color, it's about sound. How do you sound? Like, say, if you're Indian and you have an Indian accent, you will be treated differently like if you're Indian and you have an Irish accent. I found out myself in my career that having a Spanish accent in Ireland sometimes doesn't allow you to have the same opportunities that you could by being Irish. Especially a lot of, like, some Irish people get opportunities just because they're Irish and not because of their training or because of their experience, just because they are in the right time, at the right place in the right time. And that is sad, So in the company, I always try to voice that. Like, so my next production is also about the traveling community in Ireland, which is another ethnic minority, which these guys are Irish as any other Irish, but they're also like discriminated, So that production is about that, about making people understand how really the traveling community is. Not how are they featured by the media or by some people that don't behave well, like how really the traveling community is, because there's beautiful things to find out there. You just need to allow people to talk and say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
yeah, all about that,
yeah,
not ethnic cleansing on a screen, because it is pathetic. At this point, it is pathetic.
yeah.
You know.
So let's get to the point where you say what you want. Okay. In the play Inside Out, what do you want to say? And
Yeah,
did and excuse me, and did you say what you want?
yeah, well, I tell you what happened to that. That's a horror story. That was back in the early 2000s or late 90s. We created a company called Ethnovision, which was ethnic television, okay? And Inside Outside was a program, a TV program, which featured it was kind of creating bridges at the time between ethnic minorities again. So it was like a cookery program in a way, because every episode had like a recipe from somewhere else in Europe or whatever. And then you had like some celebrity from abroad also, like say a footballer, a politician, or, someone that was relevant, from ethnic minorities, It was a great program. And then it was kind of mixed with music, and it was traditional Irish music mixed with, so each week you featured, say, like say 1 week was Romania, another week was Nigeria, another week was Spain, so different, every week was a different, like say, what you call
Episode.
country. Yeah. So back in the time when we actually made that show, it was great because RTE like helped us, like they helped us with their editing facilities and with their equipment and with personnel. But in the end, they actually took the program and they asked me, do you want to be a researcher in this program? And I said, no, this program is my program. So they ended up taking the program themselves and they broadcasted it as a thing called Mono, it was called, you know, and no, I think I actually burned a lot of bridges there, because then they never commissioned any of my stuff. Even to nowadays, you know, I still feel like, you know, there's something there. But I don't think that's right. If you have an idea and it's your program, you should allow that person to make their own program, you know. So that happens. So yeah, it was kind of part of the same thing, like, you know.
Yeah. Okay, let's move to another topic here. How did you help with the national plan against racism in Ireland?
Yeah, that was the NCC era. That happened again back in the early 2000s and or late 90s. And outside inside was one of the things. So the creation of Ethnovision, ethnic television, was one of the things that we actually gave to the national plan against racism in Ireland. You know, then it was a different thing to broadcast it. You know, so that kind of clashed. But at the same time, I also took part with Ken McHugh. You will like that because about football. It's called Sports Against Racism in Ireland, SARI, and SARI has done a lot. So I'm very glad that I was able to take part in those early stages of SARI, and I still work with Ken McHugh in loads of stuff, you know, which is great. But yeah, it is all about that, trying to create bridges, trying to give people the same opportunities, trying to be heard, trying to show people what the reality is, you know. And I find, especially now with the Black Lives Matter, in the last couple of weeks, you know, there's a movement, you know, where people are starting to understand that, you know, how ethnic minorities are, and people don't like it, but that is the truth, you know.
Yeah, very nice. So you started the Nova Productions Limited. Why did you start it, and what are your important productions from this company? Again?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can,
Yeah. Like, you started the Nova Production Limited company. Why did you start that company, and what, like, let's say, good productions have you produced out of this company?
Oh, yes. So Nova started with the idea of having like a team, you know, like that it was inclusive to everybody, just giving opportunities to everyone, just to create relevant art, you know, to create relevant movies. And we've done like a few good productions with Nova, from shorts to features, you know. We've done the last documentary, The Chewing Babies, you know, Bad Fruit, was really good, maybe the best production in terms of achieving some recognition as in festivals, you know, and people have heard of it. And then, yeah, so it's all about like, we bring people from everywhere. It's really cool. Like, say, our sound guy is from France, you know, then myself, then my husband, he works in the company, he's Irish. But we have people from everywhere, you know. It's a mix and match of ideas that is awesome, you know. So I think the more diversity, the more open-minded you are, and the more things you can work with. We have an important production now coming on, Worlds Apart, that hopefully we get funds for it, which is about the traveling community in Ireland. It's written by this amazing, talented Irish guy, a traveler, Michael Collins. He's a very big actor here in Ireland, and I'm very happy that he asked me to direct his script that he's written, you know, and it's produced also by someone very important here, Paul Barnes, that has an incredible experience, you know, and our cast is fabulous. So I can't wait to get it rolling, you know.
You're really fabulous, and you're doing a great job in some way. Yeah. Okay. Well, what is English for Life, and what's the concept you're trying to build this project around?
Yeah, English for Life is part of Nova also. It's part of a project from Nova called the European Cultural Project, which brings kids from everywhere in the world to learn English through filmmaking. And they come over for 5-6 days throughout the year sometimes, but the big project comes in the summer. where they make a short movie in 3 weeks. You know, they produce, they direct, they do the lights, the camera, the editing, they do everything. And kids are great to work with because they have fabulous ideas, you know. So the more freedom you allow them, you know, the best crazy ideas they come up with. You know, normally they work horror. Kids love horror, you know, they love, we do a lot of special effects with them, like cutting necks and all this with prosthetics to make what they do. There's a few of their movies up online, I think, in our YouTube channel, you know, but it's great to see kids work because it's like, wow, man, this has been done by kids that they've never made movies before. And some of the stuff is actually better than what film students make, you know, in college, you know. So it's like, well, this is crazy. Kids are great to work with. I really love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a talent anyway. Let's move to something interesting for you and something like exciting, like Shot by the Sea. What is this festival about, and what kind of new ideas do you try to inject in this kind of project?
Okay, Shot by the Sea was created as a project for Galway 2020. Galway was European Capital of Culture in 2020 this year. We started doing projects last year. So we proposed, Lisa Bolton and myself, you know, we proposed this idea of a film festival where the movies are all shot by the sea in coastal towns and everywhere. So part of the idea was to promote Galway. It's a beautiful coastal town in the west of Ireland, you know. So we promoted local people to go out, make films, even if they weren't filmmakers, just to adventure, go out with your phones and edit your movies and bring them to the festival, you know, to everyone to make them. And then like some filmmakers, like international filmmakers also submitted movies to the festival. So we came with a lovely compilation of international, national and local movies, you know, was very, very pleasant. And this year, well, COVID has delayed our festival, but we've had like a couple of screeners online of a mix of new submissions, people who won prizes last year, you know, like last winners. And then we also got some international movies again. And it's great because it's every genre, you know, you have animation, you have documentary, fiction, anyone can make anything and submit it. And the beauty of it is like coastal towns, you know, coastal towns are beautiful, you know, they have amazing landscapes. And it's lovely to see how different and similar coastal towns are all over the world, you know. So yeah, that's Shot by the Sea.
Yeah. Okay, like how do you want people to see you?
Yeah, this is cool because I don't want people to see me. I want people to hear me and to hear my messages. You know, I love people to recognize the work that I do. I think is relevant, and I would like to, without being like, you know, a dictator or like kind of just being propagandistic with my movies, I would like people to see the world in the way it is, you know, and maybe that will change a little bit people's perspectives, you know, but no one can change unless they want to, you know, but it is good to create awareness, you know, it's good to create public awareness with a lot of situations.
Okay, let's get the big picture quite bigger.
Yeah,
What do you want to change in Ireland?
film and documentary.
Teresa? Teresa, are you there?
Yeah, in Ireland, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
In
Go ahead.
Ireland, I would like to see like more of a diverse. Yeah, I would like to see more diversity on a screen. At the moment, it looks like it is ethnic cleansing on a screen. There's, if you compare what society is like when you walk in the street and what cinema portrays in Ireland, it's two different worlds. You know, in the streets and you hear people talking in different languages. You go to a screen, you never see foreigners, or very rarely you see foreigners. So I would like to introduce that people there from ethnic minorities or non-nationals, that they get their oops.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead, Teresa. I'm listening.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't see you. Yeah, so I want people to just to see that, like just to see how society is, and just to give filmmakers, to give actors, to give writers opportunities, in Ireland. I would like that. I would like to see a lot of actors from different, like non-national actors, are very, I mean, they get sad because they're not given opportunities, and I would like to see that. I would like to see that. People
Very
giving
nice.
opportunities.
Let me ask you an important question here. Like, have your dreams come true in Ireland?
My dreams, some of my dreams have come true, and some of them are still coming true, and I hope they still come true, because otherwise it will mean that I'm dead, So keep dreaming, everyone, because that's the way it is.
Yeah, okay.
You don't dream, you're dead. Like, you have to keep dreaming. But yeah, Ireland has given me an amazing opportunity, and I mean, I know, and I want to be objective and realistic. A lot of opportunities have been taken away from me.
Yeah.
One, because loud and clear, and people don't like that. And two, because I come from an ethnic minority, So yeah, I'm a bit of a rebel that way. And yeah, I'm aware that being like that kind of cuts your opportunities, but at the same time, it gives you a lot of satisfaction. So let's go for satisfaction, because then is when your dreams come true.
Oh, that is so courageous and so well said. Like, I support you with all I have. I hope all your dreams and all your aspirations come true, and be happy with it. Teresa?
And you too, and thank you for this opportunity.